I flew to Florida without warning and found my son dying alone in the intensive care unit. My daughter-in-law was celebrating on a yacht. So I froze all her accounts. An hour later, she lost her mind. The call to end my final mission came faster than I expected. One moment I was reviewing the last security report in the operations room overseas. The next I was packing my duffel bag. 40 years in uniform had taught me to move quickly, but this felt different. I wasn't just leaving a base. I was leaving the life I built to protect my country in my jacket pocket, the weight of my father's pocket watch pressed against me. He'd given it to me before my first deployment, telling me always come home. I had time and again, but this return wasn't planned. I hadn't told anyone, not even my son. The overnight flight to Miami was a blur of engine hum and restless thoughts. I stared out the window at the thin line of dawn stretching across the Atlantic, wondering if Daniel would be at work or still asleep when I knocked on his door. I pictured his smile the way his eyes crinkled when he laughed, and it was enough to carry me through the turbulence. By the time I landed, the Florida heat wrapped around me like a heavy blanket. The taxi driver loaded my duffel without a word. Naples, I told him, giving Daniel's address as we pulled onto the highway, the palm trees swaying in the humid air. I tried to ignore the tightness in my chest. We hadn't spoken much lately, my schedule his life, but I'd always believed we could pick up where we left off. The cab turned into his street, and something in me shifted. The grass in front of his house was overgrown. The mailbox stuffed with envelopes. Curtains were drawn tight against the sun. It didn't look like a home. It looked like a place abandoned. I climbed out the heat, biting at my neck, and was about to knock when a familiar voice called from across the street. Mrs. Turner, Daniel's neighbor, since he'd bought the place, stood with a watering can in hand. Her face pale. Maricela, she said, hurrying over. You don't know what my voice was steady, but my fingers tightened around the watch. Daniel's been in the ICU for 2 weeks. They took him by ambulance in the middle of the night, and Brianna, she hesitated, glancing away. She's been on the yacht in the Keys, been posting pictures all over Facebook. The air seemed to thicken around me as I stood there, the words settling like lead in my chest. I don't remember the drive to Naples General. One moment I was standing in Daniel's yard. The next, I was pushing through the hospital's glass doors. My heartbeat pounding in my ears, the air inside was sharp with disinfectant, the kind that clings to your clothes long after you've left. At the reception desk, I gave my name and his. The nurse's eyes flickered with recognition, and she directed me to the ICU 5th floor room, 512. I took the elevator up, gripping my father's pocket watch so hard the metal dug into my palm. The hallway was quiet, except for the steady mechanical beeping of monitors. When I stepped into Daniel's room, the sound was louder, inescapable. My son lay on the bed. His skin pale, his frame shrunken beneath the hospital gown, tubes and wires traced over him like a cruel map. A man in a white coat turned from the monitor. I'm Dr. Julian Cross. He said, his voice low but firm, your son has advanced gastric cancer terminal. If we'd caught it earlier, there might have been more time. He's been here 2 weeks, no visitors. The words felt unreal, as if they belonged to someone else's life. I moved closer, my fingers brushing the back of his hand. His skin was cold, the veins fragile under my touch, his eyelids fluttered slowly. They opened, and I saw the same hazel eyes I'd watched light up when he was a boy on the baseball field. I love you, Mom. He whispered, his voice faint, his breath. Before I could answer, the monitor's steady beeping turned into one long, piercing tone. Nurses rushed in, and Dr. Cross urged me into the hall. I stood frozen, hearing the flurry of commands, the shuffle of feet, the thud of hands against his chest. Minutes later, the door opened, the doctor stepped out, his expression heavy. Sorry, we did everything we could. The watch in my hand felt heavier than it ever had, and all I could think was that I had come home too late. I drove back to Daniel's house with the hospital's smell still clinging to me. The keys felt foreign in my hand as I stepped onto the porch. When I pushed the door open, a stale wave of air hit me, the kind that settles in when no one has cared for a place in weeks. The living room was dim, curtains pulled tight, empty glasses sat on the coffee table, a thin layer of dust coating their rims. In the kitchen, takeout containers and unwashed dishes were stacked haphazardly in the sink. The hum of the refrigerator was the only sign of life on the counter. A pile of unopened mail leaned against the wall. I tore through the envelopes, utility shut-off warnings, overdue, credit card statements, late mortgage notices. My chest tightened as I flipped through them. Daniel had never been careless with money. I moved into his small office, the chair slightly askew, as if someone had left in a hurry. Papers littered the desk, some crumpled, others folded neatly among them. I found a thick stack of receipts. The first was for a yacht rental in Key West, $150,000, dated the same week Daniel had been admitted to the ICU. Another from Cartier in Miami showed nearly $200,000 for jewelry. There were dinners at oceanfront resorts, luxury clothing boutiques, all charged to Daniel's credit card. The dates lined up too neatly with the days I knew he had been lying in that hospital bed. I sat down hard in the desk chair. The receipts trembling in my hands, Brianna's face filled my mind, the smile she'd worn in those social media posts Mrs. Turner had described. I had trusted her to stand beside my son, to care for him when I couldn't be there. Instead, she'd been draining his accounts while he fought for his life alone. I pressed the receipts into a neat stack, each one a quiet accusation, and knew this was only the beginning of what I was going to find. I set the receipts down on the coffee table, my fingers curling around my phone. Her number was still saved, though I hadn't used it in months. For a moment, I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering the weight of what I'd just discovered, pushing me forward. The call connected almost instantly. Brianna's face appeared framed by the blinding white of a yacht deck. Music thumped in the background, mingled with bursts of laughter. She was holding a stemmed glass, a bright orange drink sloshing against the rim behind her. People in swimwear danced and shouted over the wind. "Well, look who finally decided to call," she said, smiling like we were old friends. "Catching up, Daniel's gone," I said, flatly, my voice steadier than I expected. Her smile faltered for a heartbeat, then she shrugged, taking a slow sip. "It was inevitable, you know, he'd been sick for a while. Nothing anyone could do."